Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Discover New Music podcast from us at Pelt Music. Shortly, we'll be chatting with the Throwaway Scene, who we recently featured over on our Discover New Music playlist on Spotify with their single, Who Else Is in the Room? But before then, the usual reminders from myself. If you would, please do follow Pelt on social media. We're on Facebook at Pelt and on Twitter and Instagram at Pelt Music. And again, if you would, please do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, whatever you're watching or listening. Welcome then to Sam and Ollie to the Discover New Music podcast. Absolutely delighted to have you both on. Obviously, a lot of great things happening for the Throwaway Scene. A lot for us to talk about. But first of all, obviously, how are you both this evening?
Yeah, real good, thanks, man. All good for me.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, excellent. Looking forward to a chat. Obviously, yeah, lots to talk about. Debut EP coming in about 2.5 weeks from now as we talk. But just to go sort of back to the beginnings, we always start the podcast with the same feature. It is called The Origin Story, and it is for listeners to hopefully discover a bit about the band and obviously how you formed. So obviously it's a bit of a grandiose name, brings sort of feelings of superheroes and villains. I'm not sure which side you guys are going to fall on, but what is the origin story for the Throwaway Scene?
So basically, me and our drummer, Tom, we've been in bands since we were kids, basically. We've been in sort of like mainly like metal bands, and like we was in like a deathcore band when we were in teenagers and stuff. And then we started another band. So we've still just consistently been like in the same band for years and years, just kind of swapping iterations, changing members, and all this kind of thing. And yeah, we were in another band sort of maybe 6 years ago now, and we needed a guitarist. Ollie was a fan of the band, and then so we ended up getting him as a guitarist, then realizing he was all right at singing. So he started he started doing some backing vocals and stuff, and then that band kind of just ran its course. And then we decided to start up this new project. And then I don't know if you want to explain a bit on the Morgan side, Tom, Ollie, because I didn't I didn't know Morgan at
all. So we kind of chatted about the idea of starting something else. I can sort of sing a bit, so I'll front it and we'll kind of build it from there. Obviously Tom's coming because we love Tom and he's pretty fucking good at drums as well, which helps. And then we did a few shows with just us three and sort of reamped bass live, and then reamped guitars live, and then we kind of went, this isn't feeling right still. So I reached out to a guy called Tom, who's at the time he was in another two bands. He's still in one other band. He's still in one of the bands, sorry, yeah. So I just sort of slid into his messages and said, kind of need someone to play guitar on this up and coming run, which we're doing with Love Is Noise. Kind of dressed it up as, can we borrow you for a bit, when the intention was always just to steal him, because he's just a fucking great guitarist.
And he plays he had quite a varied repertoire of bands he was in. He's like in a post-punk band. He was in like a thrash metal-y type band, and then he joined Throwaway Scene, which is just an emo band. So it's kind of like he's got a full kind of array of different talents and interests.
He's here for stuff though. It's fucking awesome. So he can just come in and go, oh, I can kind of see it from all of these different points of view, so I'll just select from the palette and away he goes.
But no, it feels like, especially me, Ollie, and Tom, we've been doing stuff for years in various kind of formations and setups, but this definitely is the most settled we've been, I think.
Yeah, which is excellent because it obviously breeds everything that you guys have been doing over the last sort of year or so, and obviously what we're going to dive into. And we always sort of feature next the song that we have featured on the playlist. We've actually featured a couple of Throwaway Scene songs on the playlist over the last few months, but we'll zone in on obviously the most recent one, which is Who Else Is in the Room. So what can you tell us about that track? What is it about? How did it come together for you?
You go on, mate.
Yeah, so the track itself is about the second stage of grief. So it's anger. So you've got a lot of the track itself is kind of a bit more angsty than the previous one. And lyrically it kind of there's a lot of narrative that carries that message of anger and who can I sort of aim this anger at. So it's sort of using it as a kind of weapon to push people away from yourself. So I'm dealing with this big sort of this big thing that's going on in my life, or I've lost someone. I just want to be sort of separated and segregated from everything else right now. So if I'm angry, I can kind of use that to just push. And it's sort of, yeah, just a bit of an exploration into that really. And yeah, and like I say, it carries through the narrative that we've been trying to weave since the release of Fake Death. And it encompasses a piece of a bigger part of the EP, and I'm just excited for everyone to have those pieces and put them all together, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's I mean that is something interesting to say. Is like probably the first time like writing music where we've had a kind of like, I don't want to go as far as say it's like a concept EP, but it kind of is in a way. Like we've had this overarching like story and idea behind all 5 tracks. So every time we release a track, it's just like the next installment and like the next piece of the bigger puzzle, which has been really fun to like write and actually kind of like even like aesthetically like put everything towards this bigger picture and like make it more of kind of a film with like the start, middle, and end kind of thing. Yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, it's always fascinating for me as someone that does sort of, spend a lot of time delving into songs, the meanings of songs, and obviously, talking to bands about them. When you do have, as you say, something more of a concept, not necessarily to put a label on it, but obviously when there is, a bigger picture to a piece of art, especially an EP or an album, and obviously trying to piece that together. And obviously, yeah, I can't wait for listeners to hear the EP. I've had a sneak peek of it, as it were, and it is so good. And we will dive a bit more into sort of the bigger picture in just a moment. But before we move off of the single, I should bring this in at this point because listeners will expect it, because I always rave about music videos, because I grew up at a time when music TV was the big thing. I'd watch it before school, after school, I was just like in front of that telly. So I still love music videos. It's such a dying art these days. And again, often I interview bands and I look for a video and there isn't one, because it's first thing that gets cut from the budget these days, because I don't know,
Yeah,
I can't do a video. Whereas obviously you guys got a video for this track, which I absolutely adored, like watching the video, because it's just it fits the aesthetic, again, as you say, to use that word, of the song really, really well. And it's just like really enticing to me to like sort of bring me into the music and expand that bigger picture. So obviously, for yourselves, that video, putting it together, how did you come up with the concept for it, and obviously putting that into practice as well?
yeah. Appreciate those comments, by the way, man. That was lovely. Especially on the EP itself. Like obviously not many people have heard the actual EP itself yet, so it's nice to have some feedback straight away. That was good. I don't know. Ollie, do you want to talk a bit about like the story, and then we'll talk about sort of how the shoots came together or how we put it together? Because like obviously the story of Kubler Ross is like the overarching thing through all the videos, right?
Yeah, so basically a lot the theme of the narrative that's kind of running, and it's told through the subtitles which you see on the screen, which I kind of like it as it's an Easter egg that's just sort of staring you in the face if you want to look at it and sort of learn more about it, and kind of, oh shit, it's a conversation between two people. All right, okay. Or you can just ignore it and just appreciate the visual elements that are behind it and the song. But you do you know what I mean? Um, so yeah, we've got a character called Ross who's gone to see his therapist Kubler. Kubler? I can never pronounce that. Yeah, Kubler. And it's how the interactions are sort of affected by what stage he's in at the time. So in the first instance, she's offering him assistance, and he's in denial. So he's just putting the front up to everything. And no, I don't need it. No, I mean, I've got a lyric in there which is fake death note crying, because he's literally just going, well, no one's died, so why would I be upset? So the visual accompaniment kind of pulls straight from that. So I'm thinking, right, well, we've got this conversation is happening. So where is it happening? First of all, how do I take this to Sam and say, what aesthetically, what room does it need to be in? How are we dressing it? I mean, Sam pulls more weight with the dressing of the set and particularly the outfits and stuff. I can't really take much credit for that. But generally speaking, the concepts will be there from the lyrics and the narrative. I'll sort of visualize, as stupid as it sounds, visualize how that accompanies the song in a way. So it's a full script that I've written for it, which you see like 20% of on the screen. We then reenact, I guess, parts of that, and that's what I then take to Sam, and we sort of sit down, and he pulls me back down to earth, and says, we haven't got fucking $5,000, so no, we're not turning you upside down and like dipping you in the fucking pond, and there's no budget for fucking I don't know, rockets. I can't think of anything more exciting.
That's definitely something I wanted to say actually as well. Just like we kind of always had it in our head that it would be like a movie, like this whole thing is like a film. But then because budget, and we're now starting out, we had to bring it down to something that we can actually achieve. We just thought didn't look cheesy. So that was kind of like a lot of the story is told through the subtitles, as one, because I think artistically it looks quite cool and it's quite suggestive of like what's actually going on, and like it adds another layer to the video. But even on just a practical front, like we couldn't like properly achieve what we wanted to achieve. So it was a way of just getting this story message through without having to kind of have the massive locations and the full film crew and all this that we originally envisaged, like, or we dream of, should we say. But yeah, I mean the Kubler-Ross thing has been really interesting as well, because I like how we found that that sort of article or like works from Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, the psychiatrist, and like we were kind of thinking about how we make that into something practical. And then I think we just landed on, we're just going to be really literal with it. Like we're going to take Kubler-Ross, make them two characters, and just be super literal with what's going on through this whole thing, instead of being too like meta about it. We just really want like the message and the story. If you read the subtitles, it's quite clear what is going on. It's not like a hidden meaning or anything like that. It's quite upfront and quite honest, which that was really good.
Yeah, absolutely, and does work so well. And obviously, I encourage listeners. There'll be a link in the bio of the episode to go and check out the video. Definitely encourage them to do that, especially as obviously the other pieces sort of form around it, as you say, with this EP, which is called On Death and Dying and is out on the 26th of January, which will be, as this episode is released, release week, which is working out really, really well. Obviously, the title kind of gives away the themes as well as what we've already talked about quite well, I think. But for someone that is obviously, again, like discovering some new music here, and obviously thinking, oh yeah, this interview is really good, I really want to check out the Throwaway Scene and listen to this EP. What would you say then overall they should expect from it?
What was that thing I wrote the other day? Because that was gold. So the track "Bury Me" is 3 minutes of Ross being angsty and desperate on the soundtrack of a modern love song. So you've got moments of bliss, gripping suspense, sheer defiance, and stunning beauty. These moments are all slow dancing with the rest. So that pulls from the lyric as well. But it's to sort of, I don't know, extrapolate that out. I guess I expect a lot of emotion, I suppose, more than anything. I feel like I should be more descriptive, but I don't want to say the cliched, well, big guitars and hard hitting drums, because all that shit's there anyway. You know that because you're about to put on a fucking EP from an emo band. So I don't know. Dare I say expect to feel something. Is that
That's what happens with the best music,
you
to
know?
be fair. The best music for me is when you do feel something, when it can like sort of touch you and obviously bring up emotions and memories and obviously to go back to the song we were starting off with, who else is in the room, obviously talking about grief. I mean, that's something that everyone is going to feel at some point. There's not many things that tie us all together in this life. Everyone's got different experiences, but everyone will experience grief. So obviously, as a subject to a song, yes, it is upsetting, perhaps, and morbid and everything, but it is something that binds us, that we will all go through that. So it's got that relativity to it, hasn't it? And obviously, yeah, that, I say, the best music's for me.
Yeah, I think as
Yeah,
well,
so
like I was just gonna say the last track on the EP as well is kind of like a real sort of down tempo, kind of more like laid back, stripped back song, and it kind of gives you it's about acceptance, which is the final stage of the 5 stages of grief, and like I think that's a real nice like full circle moment as well, because you've been like just pounded with these hard hitting emotions all the way through the EP, and to finish on that kind of like I love that last song, like it's really nice. One of my favorite songs we've done, to be honest, and it's like so stripped back and so like chill, but yeah, I think that gives a real nice like full circle to the whole thing.
I was going to say as well, though, it's as a little nugget in there that I kind of liked that we kept. So the track, as Sam said, it embodies acceptance. So it's the song just I don't know. I feel like the song at the end of everything is always the big cinematic, grandiose fucking crescendo. So why not just go against that to start? Because
Yeah,
fuck it. But then, yeah, the track doesn't really do much. It just sort of slowly just goes to the end, because that's what acceptance is. You're accepting that you're dying, so just go to the end.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
yeah.
And then yeah, the nugget of sort of meta nugget, I guess, that we put in there as well was the fact that none of the vocals have changed on that since the demo, and that demo was I don't know, about a year and a half ago. So it's just accept the fact that it's original vocal. There's there's cracks and there's creaks and the vocals should be better, or that bit should have maybe been quantized a bit more. But no, it's just accept it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I remember first hearing that demo, and like it's barely changed to the first demo that Ollie made in his like bedroom. And
it
we were always
got a bit of
scared.
synth on it and that.
Yeah, yeah. We was always so scared of changing it, because I was like, it captures exactly how he was at the time and how it was done. So we didn't want to retrack it, or we didn't want to change it. We was really like against doing anything to that song.
I mean,
I'm glad we didn't.
like, without sounding like an egotistical bastard, it's I don't know. It's nice to just, like I say, have it as it is. Yeah, and not tamper with it and kind of, I don't know. The egotistical comment was more in reference to saying that is art. That's kind of
Yeah.
why would we change it? Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
that moment was, like Sam said, it captured that moment. It is doing what we want it to do. What that song does is just, it just goes to the end and accepts what it is. So why would we tweak too much? It got a bit of, like I said, extra synth on it and stuff, but that's it.
And I feel as well like we've almost got to a point with music that comes out these days that when you hear something that's not completely polished, or you hear something that's not like ground down to every note being perfect, every like drum hit perfect, everything being perfect, I think you're almost your ears kind of prick up when you hear something that's got them imperfections and it's got that kind of like rawness and edge to it. Like some of my favorite, like even like pop vocalists are like, I don't know, they're vocalists where you can hear like the strain in their voice all the time, where you can hear like the slight imperfections to it. And I think it gives so much, and it's kind of what a lot of kind of music is missing these days for me anyway.
I was going to say I forgot what I was going to say. I started thinking about the last Pianos Become the Teeth album, and that stands out to me so much from the production, because it's just there's vocals that have got no treatment on, and then some of them are here, some of them are in front of you, and go, what the fuck's this?
Yeah.
And it's just so nice to not have that same wall of sound, because me and you were talking about it, weren't we, not so long ago. I'm just getting fucking annoyed by the different Instagram ads, but it's the same fucking frequency that's hitting me all the time. And you're just going, I don't know. It's hard hitting drums, and there's some big chunky guitars, and the singers singing on top of everything, and I'm like a fucking cheese grater now. Like it's just very abrasive. I don't need. If Tom was here, he'd probably say, "Yeah, you don't need that fucking 12.5K to be so high. It's unnecessary, mate."
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I've sort of strayed away from the point, so I'll hand it back to you, man.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with it all, though, and obviously, yeah, on the sort of deeper meaning of the song and acceptance. I mean, as you kind of touched on, yeah, life itself is not perfect. Us as people, none of us are perfect, and obviously, yeah, that just it does feel really, really fitting, like you say, that kind of that Easter egg, if you will, of the fact that that is the original take on it. You know, is really nice.
You're the
to
only one
hear.
that knows that as well now. So
Well,
until this gets released,
yeah,
obviously.
and then at least two more people will. So
Well, that's doubling our numbers that know it.
fantastic, and yeah, obviously, yeah, it's amazing. Like any band that gets to put out music and a debut EP is such a special feel. So like, yeah, definitely encourage listeners to check it out. 26th of January. On Deaf and Dying, so definitely check that one out. And obviously, once listeners have done that, it is a nice segue for us moving on to the live side of things, as we tend to do on the podcast. Because once you've heard music, for me, all I want to do is go and hear it live, and again, get those imperfections that you do when you hear music live, because that's real music, in my opinion. And you guys have been able to get out and play, you know, a fair whack of shows already. I think you touched on Lovers Noise, and obviously there's a few other bands I clocked that I'm like, oh well, yeah, these guys have managed to support some decent bands already. And another one you've got coming up then for listeners, so for us to plug, as it were, is you'll be supporting Air Drawn Dagger in Sheffield on the 24th of February. So you must obviously be excited for that one, because I believe that is, I think you called it as close to a hometown show as can be when you announced it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom, our guitarist, and Ollie are both from Sheffield, so yeah, me and the other member are from further afield, but it's the best we can do for a hometown show. Yeah, that'll be good.
It's a 50% hometown show, if you like.
Yeah.
We're playing the numbers. It's you know, it's a mean hometown show. I don't know, average, whatever.
And I guess as well, obviously, with an EP coming out, you're going to want to get out and play songs. So we always give out the social handles on this podcast. It's become just a bit of a thing for me. And obviously, there'll be links in the bio, so I really don't need to say them, but I just like to say them these days. So on Instagram and Facebook, fans can find you at The Throwaway Scene. And I always still call it Twitter. I should call it X. They can find you at Throwaway Scene. So on Twitter. And yeah, I'd imagine I'm a bit old for it, but I imagine you're on TikTok as well. So I always forget to add the likes of TikTok and everything on there. But yeah, I stick with the old person social media. So definitely encourage listeners to obviously go and follow you, because that'd be the first place that they can hear about shows coming up. And I'm guessing there will be more shows coming up, even obviously you probably won't be able to mention any specifically right now.
No, yeah, we can't mention any right now, but we've got a lot more stuff to be announced real soon. So yeah,
I'm gonna say with not that. Yeah, I was gonna no. Carry on.
The dates the dates are too confusing. Let's just leave it for now.
But
yeah, in the next week or so, there'll be more stuff to talk about for sure.
Excellent. So yeah, definitely listeners, follow the band on social media to stay up to date with obviously the dates coming out, because you are going to want to hear these songs played live. And that is again like the segue into our final big sort of portion that we have on this podcast, which is called Setlist Science. So I'm a massive setlist geek, and I love to pay attention to obviously what people are playing, you know, what order they're playing them in, what they're doing to make shows kind of special. So I added this section in. And the question for it is simply, you know, how much importance do you place into the structure of your set lists, and have you got any rules that you tend to follow?
Well, that's a really good question.
It's all important, isn't it? Really, that's your whole show. Like,
Yeah.
if you fuck that up, you're doomed from the start.
Yeah, I
That-
guess a consideration I've always had is stagger your release songs, I guess, between your unreleased stuff, just so when you're trying to squeeze unreleased stuff in, you kind of bring people back if they've heard of you before or whatever. I guess that's something we kind of follow. Pacing it, I guess we kind of look vocally as well for a lot of it, because pacing's so important. I don't know if you want to elaborate on that a bit, Ollie.
yeah, I mean, some of the songs, particularly the ones that you've heard on the EP, they're a lot faster and more vocally demanding, shall we say? So I do like to try and get ahead of myself and knock them out the park before we go on to not some easier songs as such, but some that where I can just have a fucking breath and just sort of remind myself that I wasn't always as cruel, and I did occasionally leave myself gaps to breathe, and you know, I wasn't always this kind of martyr that'll die for the art.
Yeah, yeah. We definitely try. We've got a few sort of softer, more stripped back songs, and we try and stick one of those in just before the last song, so it gives Ollie a chance to breathe and kind of catch his breath as well.
But yeah, like Sam was saying though, I don't like doing two similar songs next to each other as well. So if there's a bit where it'll have a too similar, uh, I don't know, it'll start in two of a similar way. It has to kind of have that degree of separation between a buffer, let's say, and then usually that buffer will be we've not played this one as much, or this one's not released, so we can. Yeah, I think we've done it for a while, so we kind of we've done all the mistakes, and we've kind of front loaded or back loaded and bored people, or people have walked off. I think it's just nice to get all your ducks in order and make it something that I think maybe you would go and watch if you were watching yourself. How do you want that to go? Do you want them all to be flagging by the back end of it, or do you want a nice kind of consistent show? And oh, here's the slow one, like Sam said. Well, we can take it down a bit, and as long as you don't say, "Here, we're going to play a slow one and bring the mood down a bit," because that's just I hate it.
Yeah, I think something we've got to consider as well is like because we wrote the songs so much in like an order, so it's sometimes quite hard for me to, like imagine switching them about, even though it does make sense live in places. But yeah, because it's like I'm so used to just creating the videos and like the storyline and everything, it's hard to then just be like, all right, we're gonna play, the track 4 before track 1 kind of thing. It kind of gets a bit weird. But yeah, in a live setting, I think it definitely does make sense. Like, who else is in the room? We start with that now because the intro just has a nice kind of like, I don't know, thematic kind of vibe to it that we enjoy. But
I mean, it goes from the moment. It goes from the first moment as well, doesn't it? Again, if I was coming to see us, I'd want us to play that first because I don't know about the other songs yet. But that just we've only done it once with that at the front of the set, but it was really it was nice. It sets the energy for us and for everyone else, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think as well, like if you're like into a smaller band and you only know like 1 or 2 songs, I feel like you need probably one that they know straight away just to really like grab people, because I sometimes think like if I don't really know a band, am I going to stick around through a load of their set that I have no idea of anything? If I kind of half know them, half don't, if you know what I mean? It's kind of better just to be like I'm hooked straight in. I know this tune.
I was going to say they're always going to play the big one at the end. And like you said, are you going to wait all the way to the end to hear Wonderwall? No.
Yeah.
I'm at the wrong gig, it turns out, anyway. So
yeah,
never mind.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to hear your cover of Wonderwall live. That sounds fantastic. Yeah.
When you'll be the first to know, don't worry. I was trying to think of something clever to respond with, but you caught me completely off guard. So yeah, you win that one.
Oh, excellent. No, I love it. I mean, obviously talking to you guys about the set list, I can see like the passion that you've got, which matches mine, which is fantastic. And the bit I really picked up on, which really makes me happy is just obviously the fact that, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, and obviously with the acceptance and life not being perfect, is obviously you say, oh yeah, we've made the kind of mistakes, we've front loaded, we've done this. Like so many bands out there don't necessarily, pay that kind of attention and don't, go right. Oh, let's adapt. That actually didn't work like that, did it? It was worth a try, but actually it didn't. Let's move it about and kind of stick to their guns. And you just think, yeah, I know you've built your set list around that, and you've practiced it, and you've probably, there's other reasons why you're going to want to stick to it. But actually, if it's clearly not working, have a little play, move it about, see what's going on. And, yeah, it's fantastic to know that you're willing to do that.
And the other
I
thing
think
is as
it's
well, like you don't want to go see the same if you're really into a band, you don't want to see the same show twice, really. Like if they have their sets so like scripted and so like perfected down to the T every minute, like obviously we still play to tracks as well, but like there's I've seen some bands that their whole set is to track, like from the first minute to the last. And like
it's just
it's not
30
really
minutes
it's not really fun for the band. I don't think it's as engaging for the audience as well. Like I want every show we play to be a bit different. Like
That's
I don't
it.
know if Ollie's mic comes detached again, well that happens. Like that's how it goes, right?
But I think for me as well, though, just you can't be sort of too afraid to be I don't know, don't be afraid to be too self-aware and kind of look inward, I guess. Like the sound guy was probably a dick that night, and how many fucking stairs are in here? Oh, and I was too tired from fucking black art. Well, so many stairs, man. But if it then goes wrong on the perfect night, then just don't be afraid to go, oh, maybe I shouldn't be having 5 pints before we play. Maybe that's not the best thing to do. Maybe the songs need to shuffle around, because like we've said before, we've experienced, I've been a bit fatigued, particularly when we first started, and I'm trying to sort of learn what I'm doing. It took a couple of shows to go, that we don't want that straight away. I need to feel a bit more limber and a bit more like I'm capable of doing that song first. But yeah, other than that, just put it together with put it together how you want, I suppose, at the end of the day. But
Absolutely.
I felt like I was leading up to a really good point then, and then my daughter then came to the door, then went to bed. So it was a fleeting moment of beauty that I'm sure will come to me at, like, I don't know, 3 a.m. or something.
No doubt, no doubt. That's how these things work. But then, again, that is life, as we've talked about throughout this podcast. But
Absolutely.
life is equally, it is just, it is magnificent, and we need to make the most of it. And obviously, the Throwaway Scene absolutely are. Listeners, again, check out who else is in the room. The video, there'll be the link in the bio. The EP out on the 26th. And obviously, plenty of live shows on the way. So listeners definitely need to do as I always say, follow the band on social media, keep you up to date with everything coming from you. It's been an absolute pleasure having this chat. Really, really enjoyed it. And we'd just like to throw the final sort of message always over to the guests. So what would be your final message for the listeners today?
You, Ollie?
Get ready for the 26th. Listen to the EP. Don't have any expectations, because it's probably not going to be what you're expecting, particularly with the last song. Just listen open-mindedly, and I don't know. I hope it makes you think, I guess. And then what I do like saying at the end of everything now as well is just know you're loved and know you're not alone.
Beautiful, beautiful final message. Yeah, thank you so much, guys, for coming on.
Cheers for having us, Paul.
Thanks for having us, man.
Well, thank you everyone for listening. I really do hope you enjoyed the chat there with the Throwaway Scene. Do make sure you check out their new single, Who Else Is in the Room, on our Discover New Music playlist on Spotify. And of course, do follow the band across social media to stay up to date with everything coming from them. You can also stay up to date with Full Pelt. We're on Facebook at Full Pelt, and on Twitter and Instagram at Full Pelt Music. And finally, if you would, please do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, wherever you're watching or listening, because we'll be back very soon with another episode of the Discover New Music podcast.